feels like Friday.
I'd have a bigger smile if it was Friday.
Yeah, that's true. What did I do with my, oh, my phone. My jack.
You make it going? You wanna wait a second? You good? I'll go ahead and call to order the Safety and Service Committee meeting for Tuesday, March 1st at 5 p.m. We have Doug Lehner and myself. Marvin Block is absent at roll call. We have Chief, Dana, Bailey, Teresa, Jack, and then Chip is here as well. We're gonna wait on minutes until Marvin gets here. Well,
Don't have to. Go ahead.
we'll go ahead. Yeah, I'll accept. I was gonna abstain due to absence, but I'll accept them, so that's fine. So we'll go ahead and make a motion if there aren't any changes to the minutes.
Nope, make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There we go. Okay. Item number 3. Let's start this meeting out on some good news, Jack.
Fantastic news. After 3 years, the East Jersey project was a selected project for the Ohio Public Works. If you folks have been driving by, we finally have the gas companies been working there the last month, lowering gas lines because that is going to be a full reclamation repair road. And we hope to get that out to bid in April. And with a first part of July
There he is.
start date. And the reason we have to wait that long is because the money for Ohio Public Works is not available till the first part of July.
Okay. So Columbia Gas, you said, has been moving things back, but there's still poles that need to be moved back, right? Electric poles?
There's a couple poles that have to be moved, but that's the electric company. But our biggest concern has been the gas lines, getting them lowered, because that's what's delayed us on our last 2 jobs. They're in there working as we speak. I spoke with Hall Engineering to make sure that the gas company will be completed and out of our way for us to have a July start date.
Awesome. So then the expected completion would be before winter?
Yes, we would like to be done by the end of September.
So we still might be able to, all right, so.
Our plan is to pave this year. 2 new sidewalks, sidewalk on each side, gonna take out a little bit of the hill, some curb and gutter, and pavement.
Is there gonna be any need for any retaining walls or anything like that?
Not at this time, we see no need for that.
But the hill part you're talking about is right there at 37.
It's actually in the road. No, it's the one down at Casson. They're gonna,
Okay,
what we have there is the one house at the corner of Casson and Pratt sits below the road, water runs off into it. We're gonna try to do a little bit of lowering, a little bit of leveling right in there.
but nothing off the hill, the little,
That was not part.
everybody scrapes coming down
That was not,
there.
well, my truck never hits bottom there.
Oh, I see people.
No, I know what you're saying, but there
Okay.
was no lowering there because then we would have had to lower the 12-inch main, which would have,
Maybe that was the
because it sits at a 4-foot
Yeah.
bury, and if we ground the road down, we would have to
Yeah.
lower the mains. So we
substantially more expensive.
substantially more expensive.
So the good news then, it sounds like unless something happens to delay the project, it should be open to receive traffic before the weather turns, really at the end of this year. So
Yeah,
that's good, very good. I'm gonna give that a golf clap because that's been 3
that
years.
has been a battle
That's
to get that
fantastic.
job.
Very good. Marvin, Doug, any other questions for Jack on? Okay. Anything else, Jack?
Yeah. Edwards Road is out to bid, and it is planned to be open March 21st. The bid opening is March 21st, 6:30 p.m. at the Township Building, because it was their turn to bid the project. So we are hoping for good bids there, and that project be a go. As I said, we would it's open March 21st, and we would like to get that project underway just as soon as possible.
You expect those bids to be up substantially though?
Well, the township is hoping they're gonna be down from last year. I have great concerns over that because of the price of oil. Barrels of oil went from $67 to $100.
It's gonna be
I think they made a mistake by not taking the number last year, but the township trustees believe there's gonna be more competitive bidding because of the time of year, which I do agree, there'll be more competitive bidding, but raw materials are up. So I have a concern. I'm somewhat worried that if it comes in above, that they're gonna balk on us and these projects are tied together. But let's not think that way to start with. Let's get the bids in, let's look at them, and then I'll try to work from there. But I am worried about raw materials being
Sure.
up in expense.
Any other construction updates that you want to touch on?
No.
Nope.
What about had Pulte Homes on here? Traffic signal.
That's number 5.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. But that's what you were going to talk about, was the traffic signal? Marvin?
I can wait.
Okay. So real quick, just the Licking County Humane Society, item number 4, Licking County Humane Society. Teresa sent this along. We got a report from them just on metrics and statistics for last year, for 2021. Looks like they're a lot lower than what they were in 2020. But we do have them in this year's budget to continue to utilize them. Dana, you said $1,200 a year is the
It's
contract.
already been paid actually for the year.
Yeah. Oh, it has been paid for
Yeah, they
2022?
invoiced like the 1st of January.
Okay. So,
Dogs had COVID.
I'm sorry?
Did the dogs have COVID too?
Maybe.
I don't believe
I
so.
don't
Might have.
I didn't see any call-outs. I know it was a relationship that we had reinitiated in the last handful of years after having not done it for a while. I think it's still a valuable service for the community, especially as we continue to grow. Chief, I don't know if you had any feedback or anything like that. Do you deal much with Humane Society in this
I
respect?
don't. I was actually really surprised to see how much lower the numbers were, and I just didn't know if it ended up being like something where people didn't know about it, and to maybe have situations that they want to talk about, and they just don't know what the resources are. So after reviewing these, I'm going to do a social media post to see if I can't get more interest in it, more awareness.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Good call. Okay. Anything else for Humane Society then? All right. Then Pulte, Jack, you had sent this along late last week, but wanted to add this to the agenda for tonight with respect to the traffic signal at Bigelow and the conversation with Altera and things like that. So I'll turn that over to you then.
Yes, on our ongoing situation with Pulte and the traffic signal versus going out at Wendy's, a number of questions came up, and so I got with Prime Engineering, and wonderful idea to take the traffic down what I would call the driving lane and out to the Wendy's light. However, how wide does that road actually have to be? How much ground take do we have to take? What type of base? Parking lot is not necessarily a road base. And these items, to find out the cost and expense, are not Pulte's responsibility. There's Johnstown's responsibility, because Pulte is willing to put a light in at the end of Bigelow. So what I have sent to you folks was Prime Engineering has given a estimate to get how much take we would need to get from Altera, and then obviously if we choose to go that route, then Pulte would pay to buy the roadway, pay to build the roadway up versus having the light at the end of Bigelow. But that investigation is on us, not on Pulte. Because as we tried to talk to Pulte, hey, do you guys want to investigate that? The answer was no. We'll just put the light in out at the end of Bigelow, which was our initial agreement. However, if Johnstown would rather have the traffic go through that driving lane and out at Wendy's, which I believe is the best route, we need to investigate how much take we need to get from Altera and what condition the road is. So what I've got in front of you is, or what I sent to you folks, is their estimate. I would like permission to proceed with that $8,000 to have them do the study, to know how much ground we needed to take and what it was gonna take to make that an actual driving lane.
And you said, I believe you had mentioned wanting to take that out of general engineering, right?
Yes, I believe that that is a general engineering expense and should be able to come out of there. We'll need to check with Dana and make sure there is that amount in general engineering, because our general engineering, $50,000 for general engineering is not a big number due to cost, but I think that's a proper place to pull it out of.
Which, Dana, that is under general fund, right?
Yes.
Do you know if that is, I don't know if you've looked into that line item to know if it's,
Oh, well, it's just a flat line item with no specific details behind it, so I don't know what else is gonna be allocated from that this year. So as of now, yes, we do have the money.
Yes, I don't think, have we spent anything out of that line item yet?
There may have been some engineering fees to CT.
but we appropriate that in full at the budget in
Yes.
anticipation of this,
Yeah, not for a specific project, but as projects come up
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we need engineering
so
questions
then as
about.
long as we agree that we'd wanna go down this route, and we would do the motion on council as well, then there shouldn't be a need for a finance ordinance, because the money's already been appropriated. We're just verbalizing the intent for the appropriate.
Yeah, it's appropriated, and I could have moved forward without asking you. That money was appropriated, but again, want to make sure everybody's still on board. That's the
For sure.
direction you want to go,
Yeah,
and I can get them started tomorrow.
I don't think it's a good idea to go and try to do something on that property without an engineer's study to see how thick the asphalt and stuff has to be, keep us from making a mistake.
Because when we buy it
It's ours.
We got,
with Pulte's money, then we got to maintain it. And if the asphalt's this thick and it needs to be that thick, we need to know that.
well, I think we learned our lesson with the
advance.
parking lot down here.
Well, if you get in there and the base under there is not but 5 or 6 inches thick.
Now, it appears to have good
There is a
base.
base.
It truly does. That's
It has
held
a
up.
base.
That's held up.
They have a base on that parking lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, our old parking lot, remember we took the
Oh, I
mill
remember.
off the top and there was mud.
Yes, I remember.
We got into a
That's
problem
what I was
there.
referencing. We thought we were good, and
Yeah.
we were
There
not
was no
good.
base.
No.
And the reason I think, I know when that was built, that's been a long time ago when that was the old Kroger store, but that parking lot was built to last, and that driving lane has been resurfaced a couple times, but you don't see any big potholes or
It's
digs
held
out
up.
of it. I
It's held
think,
up.
which tells me that it's probably a pretty solid base, but we need to know that.
Well, there's grading you'd probably have to do too, because
And then are the entries to the road,
Right.
are they wide enough for an actual road? I mean,
Right.
so that we're gonna get all this information for this $8,000, which I think is a
Yeah.
proper use of general fund engineering expense.
Yep.
So,
Any other comments or anything like that, or? What we'll do, similar like in finance, we'll just do a motion and a second here, and then we'll take it to council when we do the committee review.
yeah, all I was really looking for was a consensus
Sure.
to move ahead with
8,800 seems like a pretty good deal to decide whether or
Yeah.
not,
Money's already appropriated.
yeah.
We'll move to take it to council. Why don't we just go ahead with the motion anyway, even though it's approved?
Oh, yeah, and then we'll take it to council too, so I didn't know if either of you wanted to make a motion.
yeah, I'll make a motion that we take the, $8,678 quote from Prime to look at the Altera Drive
Chapter.
So they can move forward with that.
Or the engineering, yeah.
Mhm.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we'll take that to council tonight too, just to make sure everybody's up to speed on that. But you sent that email out, I think, to all of council, so
Yeah,
I
I
think they know.
I wanted you to get a pre-look at,
Yep.
you know, what they were suggesting to do. Again, I'm in favor of taking this action, but
Yep,
wanted you to see it.
good call, good call. And then Dana, obviously, if there are any irregularities or anything out of the norm that you see in that fund, I mean, we can address that, but I think at the very least, the general fund
Put
has enough.
Put a plug in for that, Jack. If that has to be named, that little section there, if we do this.
We
next,
probably would have to name it something.
Carol's Way.
What's way?
Carol's Way.
Okay.
Carol's Way.
Carol is the one that come up with the original idea to do that. Carol Van Diest.
Well, that would be up to you folks. All you have to, you tell me what you want on the sign.
Just run a name in
I'll,
there.
I'll put it out
I
there.
think that'd be nice.
Ben's turning red.
So it wouldn't be Bigelow extended, it would be a separate,
Well, it wouldn't
It
be
could be.
Bigelow anyway, cause Bigelow runs off straight into 62. And my vision is Bigelow would be maintained as a right turn only.
as a right turn only.
Right in, right out. Yeah, why make people go to the light if they
No,
wanna turn right?
That's exactly.
So, yeah, so
Okay.
coming from New Albany, it would be right turn in, or heading out Bigelow, it would be right turn out to the downtown, is what I.
Where it is right now.
maintain.
And I might,
Go to Dunkin' Donuts.
one thing that I would ask for consideration, and I don't know how prevalent it is, but there are still people that turn left there at McDonald's, off onto
Yeah.
Bigelow.
Yes.
There's about 30,000 signs over there that say, do not turn left.
How many stops have you had, chief, there?
It's- yeah, you could sit out there all day long.
I feel like it's getting
I mean,
worse.
I could assign a 24-hour patrol officer there, I think.
We should put in a permanent
Do you,
triangle so that you can't drive over it.
do you find that when the patrol cars is out there, they don't make as many left turns?
Yes, absolutely. So like, if I pass, you could tell the ones that are about ready to turn left, because they do it a certain way, and they kind of glance over, and they see the patrol car, and they're like, oh, and then they turn right, and they're probably like, oh man, I gotta go into Wits and turn around and come back out.
They know better, but they
They,
just,
they do. I mean, for the most part, they're locals, and then they're using that area to cut through,
Right.
you know, from Maine. And, so it's also coupled with, I get a lot of complaints in the subdivision for the coverage.
Well, you mentioned a triangle, Bailey, but you would need to widen that piece, right?
No, not necessarily.
I agree with that
Put
too.
A wedge.
Concrete.
So there would be you could turn in right or
Make it a curve,
go out and you make it a,
yeah.
Just like what they have at Kroger on the,
Hmm.
maybe like the far west side of Kroger, that entrance.
Oh, you're talking,
Huntington.
the
Yes, it's a traffic control
yeah,
device.
you gotta make it higher, cause,
Yep, a sweeping wedge.
some,
I thought you were talking on 37, you're talking on Bigelow to filter icing.
Yes.
I was thinking,
No more bells.
we're gonna turn, no, not,
no more bells.
the little yellow things that you
We
put
name the bells.
on the,
No, like
But
a
that-
physical raised.
people just drive right over those.
Like, yeah, a raised concrete
Yeah,
pad, basically.
I think that needs to be a consideration for sure.
If somebody hits those, it automatic usually disables a car.
Yeah,
Yeah, people
Yeah.
don't drive over those.
all right.
Once.
Maybe if you're talking as a part of this whole project, as a
Yeah.
part of that, then that needs to
Tell
be.
us.
So I just verbally put it out there, but I think that needs to be a consideration.
I think it'd be good too, then you can actually put the sign right in the center of it too.
Yeah.
Which brings a lot more attention.
Okay. Very good. Good news for that. That's exciting that that's moving forward.
Yep.
Speaking of which, so the conversation before, and I don't want to bring up a sore subject or anything like that,
That's
or talk about anything that we are already through, but the conversation in previous meetings had been to secure a performance bond for the cost of those upgrades before any other homes were to be built back there with Pulte. We talked previously that because communication had been progressing, that we felt pretty good about the situation. So have we moved from wanting to require any kind of financial performance bond for these upgrades at this point?
I thought we were gonna wait until we got this number from Prime.
Okay,
Because once we get the number from Prime, I think it gets very simple. Because then we tell Altair what we need, how much we need, and then they need to tell us what the price is, and then we go to Pulte and say, okay, it's either a light down here or you help pay for the upgrades here.
all right,
And they are still under a building moratorium
they are,
of 4 houses per month. So I think we have a little bit of time.
okay.
I didn't understand what you were saying, Ben. You wanted to put a complete moratorium on them because of the red light, or?
No, I had thought that we had ended with, wanting to have at the very least a performance bond on a number that we had assigned to that light being
Oh,
put in at Bigelow until all of this is done, to allow them to continue to build, but make sure that the city hedges any liability against them not doing something there. So that was my question, because it sounds like we've moved away from that.
Because we were gonna stop them
Right.
from building. We were gonna bring them to a halt, but then we found out
we did.
they had never received the information from our office.
I think once those communications, and shouldn't take the engineer very long to get these figures
I'm gonna
back.
press him. I'm gonna tell him I want something in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
We should know something by the 1st of April.
That's where I'm at, and then we'll be able to get in with Pulte and say, well, we'll send it to Altair. Altair has actually been in communication back and forth, wanting to know what I think they are eager to do this, is the feeling I get. Now, the numbers they sent on commercial property were
Same time.
they were eye-opening. But again, you can ask for whatever you want, but if you truly want to make a deal, I'm sure they'll be.
everybody come to the table.
What's the price gonna be on a red light too?
Well, I think that's too, and it's not $170,000 as Pulte initially said, because we're not going to accept 2 poles and a wire. So
Okay,
yeah, they'll have to weigh those 2 things out and what Johnstown wants to do.
so,
I agree with Ben that once we get the figures for Pulte, there should be some kind of moratorium or stop until we have the money bonded for the red light or the,
Yeah, after we get the number back from Altair, I think it'll all happen quickly. Because we'll decide it's this much to go through Altair property and it's this much to build the light, which we're gonna do.
well, can't we just tell them we'd rather have this?
Not if it costs more, because their agreement is to put a light out. So if going through Altera, let's say costs $300,000 and a light's $200,000, I'm just pulling those numbers out of the air. They are not obligated to go through Altera. They are obligated to put a light up, is what they're obligated to do.
so we'd be liable for the difference.
So we would be liable for the difference.
As long as we agree on as long as we agree that their proposal is sound, because I don't know if we can, from the state, I don't think we can accept 2 poles and a string.
And both of those numbers, I just said 300 and 200.
Yeah.
Those are not numbers.
But 2
Our
poles,
new red light with the arms and stuff on it was approaching close to $1 million, wasn't
those
Yes.
mast arms are at least $100,000 a
Yeah.
piece.
it? Yeah.
I think the last one we looked at was $700,000, $800,000.
I feel like it's gonna come out in the wash when you talk about land purchase and infrastructure relative to what it would take to improve that intersection. And with timing it with ODOT's update with Wendy's, I really think it's gonna be negligible.
Well, I believe the best route is to just have the one light and
Yeah.
Bigelow remain right in and right turn in and right turn out.
Yeah,
Would be the best for the community versus having 2 lights and one on that hillside.
Yeah.
But here again, we'll have to see what those numbers are, because we can encourage Pulte, but we can't force Pulte to pay way more than what they were obligated to.
okay, very good. Anything else with Pulte and with that, Bigelow?
At least it's moving.
Mobility hubs. I asked this question after one of the Licking County Transit Board meetings I went to. I cannot think of the gentleman's name. The business manager pulled me aside and asked where we were with the mobility hub and our contract with Etch, who is building
App.
the app and things like that as a part of this, because he said, what was it, I think mid-November, Etch had reached out to him, and then they hadn't had any conversation up until that point. So I reached out to Jack and asked, where we were with Etch, and that whole thing, because Licking County Transit Board was expecting some communication back to them on utilizing a couple of their buses and a couple of their drivers in a test case scenario to test this app in a real world setting. So Jack, you'd reached out to Etch and got some information back from Darlene Maggold, the CEO, on kind of where they were with things. Can you give an update on that, or?
Bailey, I'd like to defer to you because I have missed the last couple meetings because I was double booked, so.
Yeah, Etch has talked to Licking County Transit, they had a meeting with them, and Licking County Transit has, I don't know exactly how many vehicles and drivers available, but they do have vehicles and drivers available.
Like
Two
it's
vehicles
two.
and drivers, and with, for the test case and then more after the test case is done, but, Darlene kind of ran through the app with the mayor and I at one of our meetings, and it's almost ready to start the test case, so I think here in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna start doing that and actually, putting rides in on the app and having Licking County Transit deliver those rides and start working out the kinks.
Oh, that's fantastic then.
I can shed some more
Yeah,
light on it.
Sure.
So anyhow, the app is pretty close to ready. Licking County Transit has, in the new world order, has gotten their act together, and they have changed their attitude completely. They're being very cooperative these days. And the hub has taken on a greater necessity. I guess that's the best way to phrase it. We have gotten, I've been told that we will have some resources coming our way. The mobility hub is very important in the future of this whole transportation network that has to come to fruition in order to support not only Intel, but the growth in this area. And nobody has committed to a dollar amount or who's writing the check, but I've been told resources are coming our way, and we're all aware of the mobility hub and its importance. We have to, Darlene's coming out here tomorrow to have a conversation about how we're gonna include and spread the word on updating the other municipalities in Licking County, and besides Sunbury and Mount Vernon, who were part of our original hub proposal, and sort of get them back on board, because we've have not done a good job, and I will just admit that I haven't done a good job in reaching out to those mayors and following up on the original proposal. When we didn't get it, it was there were a lot of other things happening that we had to deal with. Now we're ready to go talk to them and get them back on board. And I'm not sure if it's ODOT or whether it's who's writing the check, but somebody, I've been told, is gonna give us some resources to help with these kind of things. But they all have pulled me aside and said the mobility hub project is very important. By the way, Intel owns a bus company which makes self-driving vehicles, and it's based in Germany. And I have told folks, wouldn't that be nice if they gave a couple of those to Johnstown as part of the hub project? So we'll see where that goes, but at least doesn't hurt to ask. So that's I guess the etch part. Darlene's coming out here tomorrow to sit down and talk about people on her team and how we're going to reach out to those other mayors and relight that part of the project. I met with Dan Lane for 2 hours yesterday. The mobility hub is still a go in his mind. He understands its importance. We paused the, pause is not the right word, but I don't have a better word. The Innovation Campus, we sort of they wanted to rethink their involvement with that, and he's ready to re-engage on that now. They were trying to figure out, in light of Intel's announcement, whatever they do with the 200 site, they had to rethink that. And he's still sort of noodling on that, but he said we have to make it available. If somebody wants it, we'll figure all that out. But they are still on board with the mobility hub, and next up is to get some money for it. I guess I'll stop there, because I don't want to repeat myself, because I'm gonna talk a little bit about meetings I've had and update everybody
Okay.
later on during the council meeting.
Okay, good. Well, it sounds like with the mobility hub, we're still moving forward with that. With Etch, it's glad to hear that they've reached out and had that conversation, because it sounds like at the very least,
Yeah,
like what Jim had talked about before he left, is the exciting part is that we're coming out of this, we'll have
And
participate
they're-
in building new technology that'll go toward
the app, and
hopefully,
also
bringing efficiencies to that.
Trying to figure out how in the new reality, that where does Licking County Transit, how do they interact with CODA, et cetera? And that is sort of out there floating around, and everybody says, we'll figure it out. So, okay. While I'm talking about Intel, this map was from the Morpsey listening section last Thursday. That was at our places, just to sort of give showing the drive times from the Intel site. That's all it was meant to do. And
2-minute drive from Johnstown.
yeah, it's less than that probably.
Stand on top of the water tower.
And
you
we'll
can
see what tomorrow brings when we have ODOT District 5 talking to us, and we'll find out what they have in store for us, because they certainly weren't very forthcoming on any information the last go round with District 6. So we'll see what they're going to tell us tomorrow.
All right. Good enough. Any other comments, questions on Mobility Hub or Etch or anything like that?
Did we, wasn't we supposed to get some money funneled in from somebody in Licking County for that?
Yeah, LCAT's is paying for Darlene and Etch.
Yeah, $150,000.
$150,000, I think.
Was it 250,000?
250? Okay.
Pass
That,
through, it's a pass-through account.
Specifically for mobility, yeah.
right, and it was LCAT's money.
Yep.
Yeah, so this isn't,
Yeah.
Johnstown is managing the contract and the contacts and everything, but
Right,
the money is
it's coming from LCAS.
from outside, so
It's
Johnstown.
not,
isn't-
not our money.
Was that your question, Marvin?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we got money from LCAS.
Okay. HB, couple House bills here, the HB 494 is on school zones. We talked about this a little while ago, and I wrote something up that if we like it, I can
Thank you.
send it to Teresa and she can type it up. Now, this has to do with, we talked about supporting HB 494, which is a proposal to give us the ability to expand a school adjacency zone. Specifically thinking about Leafy Dell and not being able to have a school zone out on Route 37 because it's outside of that 300 feet. Whereas this gives you the ability to state your case and apply for it via the Director of Transportation with the state, and then potentially move forward with expanding that school zone. I think we had talked at this, if it were to be approved and we went through it, if the bill even passes, that this would be able to give us the ability, if we needed to go out even onto Edwards, but at least give us the ability to have 37 in front of Leafy Dell be designated a school zone and slow down traffic for designated periods of time and things like that. So I will pause and let everybody read it. Is that okay?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me.
Any call outs or changes or anything like that? Chief or Dane, I don't know who's been able to read it. Did you guys have any call outs? Does it sound okay?
You look good, sir.
Does it? Okay. Then what I can do is I can, if I get to have I'll redistribute these to council so people can read it. And then I can, send it to Teresa and she can put it on some letterhead.
Letterhead.
And she can come in and, I guess, Chief, if you wanna just give that to Teresa, then maybe,
Yes, sir.
yeah. And then I'll hand these out to council, but,
Thanks, Ben, for your effort on that.
yeah,
Yeah, great.
no problem. I think it'd be good. We'll give it to Mark Frazier and, just let him know that we would appreciate the support in this, and that would give us the ability to designate a school
Those
zone.
marked.
Yeah.
Does council want to sign it, or?
I wrote it with that intent. I
Okay.
put city government, so I figured anybody else, Jack included, Chief included, anybody else who wanted to sign it could sign it. I'm sorry.
I think Mark's been very responsive to this community.
I agree.
I think it'd look nice if we all just kinda signed it like a greeting card, let you sign it officially, or the mayor, whoever. And just let us put our signature on it so we know we all.
And
Absolutely.
Mark is coming out to pay us an official visit on Friday, afternoon.
Next Friday.
A week
March
from,
11th.
yeah, next Friday, not this Friday, a week from Friday. So he'll be here in the afternoon to tour a couple of sites that we are, asking him to, put into the state capital budget.
This
Including
year,
the,
okay.
splash pad and, the, amphitheater, so.
Splash pad.
Hmm?
There would be a lot of excited people if we got a splash pad.
Well, especially if we got the state to pay for it.
True.
One of the most consistently asked
Yeah.
for items after the dog park.
No joke, yeah.
Speaking of which, is there any way we can get Dana, or Bailey or Wheelbarrow to get some gravel put over there?
I was going to call today, I did not get a chance, obviously, council, well, yeah, Chip's been with me, all he knows what my day's been.
We
but-
got some money.
well, his day too, but we obviously have approved, a gravel parking lot to be put in there with drainage. I'm gonna call the contractor, to see how soon he can get started on that project.
And there's a great deal of mud over there. When you have the amount of rain that we've had, what do they expect? But we have to figure out something maybe for those gate entries. I don't know.
Right now,
whether-
you can't even get a truck back to it, I don't imagine.
Are
Well,
people
wha-
not parking in the expanded lot and walking?
Well, they can, they certainly can, but it was planned this spring to get that in there, get a base in there. It's gonna initially, as you know, it's gonna be a stone parking area initially, and we are gonna put additional drainage in there, before we put the stone base in, so, we'll get that water carried out of there, we'll get the base taken care of, and then year 2 or 3, we'll get it paved.
But the Facebook crowd has been very supportive of the dog park. Somebody had posted and congratulated the Monroe Township trustees. on
Yes, I
putting in a
saw
dog
that.
Park.
Such a great.
I broke my own rule and I did respond. And I pointed out that it was the city of Johnstown with the Licking County Park District that
Yeah.
had put in the dog park. And I didn't say anything. I wanted to, but I didn't say anything
No one
about
from Monroe Township said it wasn't us.
Yeah, they didn't, they were
willing to
they
take
were willing
credit.
to take the credit. So anyhow, so that.
But I will
was-
get on that, Mayor, and see if I can get
That's
them
fine.
pushed in there, because we do need to get that set up so it's more usable.
And where the gates are, is that just dirt? And I think the one, I'm trying to think, Marvin, we went down to visit
Small dogs on the right, big dogs on the
right,
left.
but weren't the gates, wasn't there some cement where the gates were?
There was a cement pad in there, but I think they also had mulch in there.
Okay, I couldn't
I
remember.
think that,
We went,
Pardon?
We have a concrete.
we went to infirmary, we checked out all the dog parks.
did they put mulch where it was muddy down in infirmary, do you remember?
I don't remember.
Stop on your way to Newark for a meeting and look.
Yeah, I'll have to,
You know what, as we define this and get this better and better, we'll get the parking, if we
Yeah.
wanna have a mulch area outside the
Yeah,
pad,
I mean-
it wouldn't take anything speaking for my street crew. They could get in there and get that done for us.
I think they just wanted some mulch around the gates that goes in and out where it was so bad.
it was very muddy, so.
We talked about it at tree commission, I'll give that report, council meeting.
Okay.
Of course, as you guys know, the road's here, the dog park's here, and everything drains to that spot. But, we're gonna get a good base in there. I think you've given me enough money to do a good job in there.
People are happy with the dog park.
And then we're going to,
see
clean the
people there all the
ditch on
time.
the other side of
See
the road,
people
stop
there all
that
the
water
time.
from coming across the road too, and keep it on the,
And
East side of the road.
and the first week, there was some people, writing on Facebook again about those dog owners who hadn't cleaned up after themselves. And they pointed out, and they pointed out, and I give them credit. They said it's up to us, to other dog owners, to call out those who aren't cleaning up after their pets.
that was
So
nice, little
That was,
self-policing.
that was nice.
That's the best.
That was the best, and,
The other thing we discussed about the dog park at the tree commission meeting is that, putting some trees over there, and, I have the stone. I went down to Newark and bought it back from the company that tore the old junior high down. The stone that had the, what do they call it, the water ledge, or come out from
A
the brick.
waterfall ledge.
Waterfall ledge.
oh,
I
okay.
got a bunch of those stones out of the old junior high,
Oh, good.
and, I think I'm saying it right, Bigelow was there. We wanted to go around the dog park and put some benches out of those stones.
That'd be nice.
We might have a little bit of expense getting the stones cut and stuff over here, but, be something that didn't require any maintenance. We'll get together with Jack and where we wanna put them so it doesn't
Nice.
interfere with mowing and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Eagle Scout project.
The These stones probably weigh 400 pounds apiece.
We don't want the stones
Couple
to
Eagle
fall
Scout
on them.
on a project.
Eagle Scouts.
They can stand there and hold, no.
It's a troop project.
Yes, it could be.
All right, very good. All right, so for the letter for HB 494,
Yeah.
as long as everybody on council is okay with it, that wasn't here, that looked at it tonight, I guess we'll just have it open and available for whoever can stop in and get it out to Representative Frazier when it's done at that point. As well, HB 563, wanted to call that out to everybody if you haven't looked at it yet. And it has to do with limiting municipal regulation ability when it comes to Airbnbs. And short-term rental was just something that we just talked about. We just talked through, planning and zoning in the last year and had it in council. This HB 563 is essentially, it says prohibits county, township, or municipal corporation from adopting or enforcing any regulation or restriction that prohibits short-term rental properties or regulates the number, duration, or frequency of rental periods for short-term rental properties. It essentially is saying you can't treat Airbnbs any differently than other types of,
Isn't that an infringement on home rule?
yes, and that's what's being called out, is that it's an infringement on home rule. So at this point, I think the only thing that's happened, it's been introduced on February 8th. I haven't seen where it's been assigned a committee or
Do we
anything
know
like that yet.
Who's the sponsor?
Yeah, they're not, I didn't recognize the names, but
Probably Mark.
Val or?
I just wanted to call it out,
Arthur.
since I know that we had talked about it. We had extensive conversation in planning and zoning about it, and on council about the definition of the regulation and things like that, so.
We don't differentiate between Airbnbs though, do we?
Well, it mentions short-term rental, but they're calling Airbnb since it's somewhat, So, I just wanna call it out so that everybody is aware, cause it stuck out to me as I was reading through some emails the last week or so, but if it progresses, then we can talk, but just wanna let everybody know. I put city lighting upgrade on here, but realized that was talked about last month. But just for my own edification, I guess, it sounds as if, and I think you have it in your reports tonight,
Yes.
that we're kind of slowly moving toward replacing those fixtures as we're able. Is that
If-
right?
I believe if you had an opportunity to look at the street department report, they changed out 5 more last month.
Yeah.
So just as the ballasts are going bad, we're doing our own changeover as we go. So,
Can I ask a question about the arms that hold the lights?
the arms that hold the light.
I noticed that as we change these out, and I may be wrong, I don't know whether these are ours or AEPs or who in the heck
Okay.
they belong to. That they're using a shorter arm. They're replacing the longer arms that reach out over the road with shorter arms closer to the pole. I'm not sure that gives you the same light in the same place, and I just take a look at that.
Okay, because I think our guys are just changing the fixture.
Yeah, but I don't know who's changing the armatures.
The arm itself.
That are holding the light, and it seems to be closer to the pole, and the light doesn't seem to fall in the same places. And
Do you have a couple examples, maybe?
Yeah,
Help me out.
Edwards Road, there are a couple there, and on Oregon Street, there are a couple there by the, AEP,
Substation.
electric
Substation.
substation. Those are the ones I noticed, that are shorter, especially the ones on Oregon Street. Cause there are a bunch of them in a row there, and I found that interesting is that Oregon has like one on every pole, and then you go to Maple, has none. Is that we have a section of Maple Street, Maple there, that has absolutely no fixtures and no light at all. It's like, how did we miss having one on Maple Street? So anyhow, so that, and then there are a bunch of, besides that, there are a bunch of lights that are burnout that we have to
And we haven't actually,
pay
to
attention to.
that end, we still do have that list. I think that Chief had third shift put together a year or so ago on areas in the city that could use more lighting.
Additional lighting, yeah.
That we talked about when we went round and round with AEP
Oh, that,
last year.
that's crazy.
But I still think, you know, those parts of the city are still underserved by lighting. We don't wanna lose sight of those either.
With our splash pad application, we're probably gonna need some additional lighting down there with that infrastructure. Could you call Prime and, you know, I don't know whether solar is adequate. We seem to be having trouble with that, but Douglas is one of those streets that you talked about. And if we do get that investment down there, we're gonna want more
We're gonna
lighting.
want
Yeah.
more lighting.
So let's see if we can add that. And while we're there, the amphitheater area,
Yeah, we may need some
One
lighting.
light.
both projects, let's see what it would take to put some
Add
additional
some
lighting in
additional
there,
lighting,
please,
Just for
Bailey.
security.
One light back
purposes.
in there.
Yeah, they're, I think on the drive that goes back in there,
Well, it sets,
it sets way
Sets
back,
way
but
back
it's
in
out,
there.
it's burnt out,
does it burn out?
yeah,
Well, there used to be a light down there.
yeah, the light's still there, but it's not working,
So, yeah, I mean,
as if we needed.
Somebody probably had to.
do we have a revised list, chief?
We do not,
Okay. Thank you. If they have an opportunity, could we get a revised list?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That's great, yeah,
Okay, good with that. The last item that I had here on the agenda, just looking back at previous agendas that we have talked about, Bailey, you had, I cannot remember who it was that we were partnering with about the crosswalk demonstration project. It was with LCATS. We talked about doing it as the weather was breaking this year. Has there been any other updates or conversations about that?
Yeah, you guys had some questions last time. One of them was about how they collect data and how you would tell if it was successful. In their previous projects, they've collected speed data before
Thank you.
it was installed and then while it's installed, just to sort of see how that affects
Different
the
subject.
speed. So that's what they recommend doing this time. They would be they've already said that they'll come out and do the speed data and they'll help us install it. The only thing is, right now, Newark is using them as a temporary installation, so I'll just, if you still want to do this, I'll email LCAS and ask them when we can get on their schedule.
Yeah, I don't know why we wouldn't. I'm still in favor of it.
yeah.
The more I'm in favor of testing and data and research before moving forward with things like that. So if they're providing the tools and things like that, then
And then,
I don't know, Marvin or Doug, do you have any?
No, it's fine.
so we talked about doing it in the downtown crosswalks, which I still think we should do, but, over the holiday break, I also thought it might be a good idea to maybe do it after the downtown crosswalks at the crosswalk on Concord Road. To start looking at some safety improvements possibly for that crosswalk.
Right here?
No, down on Concord where the trail crosses over.
Bike trail crossing.
Where the bike trail crossing is.
You can still think about that one. I'll get on their schedule right now for the downtown crosswalks. And if you think that that was successful and you like the way that it turned out, maybe then you can
Yeah.
think about doing it again.
Yeah.
And did we have the one that's supposed to go across from Beltfield, did we have, that was on our walkability thing,
Yeah, but there's not currently a crosswalk there
Okay.
to do a crosswalk demo project.
alright, well, eventually.
Yeah, I'm fine
Someday.
continuing to move forward with it. I think it's a good idea down here on Concord too.
I will get on their schedule.
Okay.
Thank you, Bailey.
Sorry.
Jack, I assume this is other business?
Yeah,
Other
Alright.
business.
other business.
Okay, and I think this falls twofold, safety service and finance. Our street ceiling priority list, council graciously granted us roads under priority 1, 2, and 3, which are listed here at the top. If you go to the first sentence under that, there's a total cost of those roads for 1, 2, and 3, $189,000, almost $190,000. So, and these were from the estimates from the company to do the ceiling. So we called to get on the schedule. They said due to the price of crude, almost doubling. To do that same amount of streets is now $286,000, almost $100,000 increase. So what I did was I took my original 189, almost 190,000, and came down and discussed with the road specialist these different roads. The first thing he said was, I understand you're wanting a protection of Concord Road because we have such an investment. He said that could wait another year. He said it needs done, but it could wait another year to get some of these roads with a little more that need a little more attention. And so as you see there, that's Jersey, Tyler Station, Crossing Place, and then the Buena Vista, Benedict Drive area. Just that amount of roads is 188, almost 189,000 that we are going to do all the above roads for. So we have a choice. We have a number of choices. I think those are the most critical roads and he's the specialist. So he said you could wait a year on Concord. He said you don't want to wait much more than that, but he said it needs it, but it's not as in dire need as these others. So I trust his view on that. So we can either stick with our 189,000 and do these roads, which is very disappointing to me because it's much less than the roads we're going to do. But that's the money that council allotted. So we can either just do those roads, which we are glad to do, and you see the number per road, or we can come up with more money to keep on pace with the list, because as you know, we did not do priorities 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we are talking about $100,000, which I know is not easy to come by. So, but I don't have a lot of choice, guys. We can either do what we allotted, or we can come up with another 100,000 to try to do the first 3 sections of priority. Do whatever you folks direct me to do. But we're finding this, and later on tonight, you're going to hear the presentation on the water plant. We're battling the same thing on costs there, gentlemen. Steel, raw materials is elevating all of this work. I have concerns about our Ohio Public Works. I mean, our estimated bid is out there, but we don't have the bids that are in. I am concerned about Edwards Road as well. We'll have to see how the bids come in. But to do the roads we're going to do, I'm repeating myself, so I'll stop. We need another 100,000, or I can trim it back to this package, whatever you think is. And I just personally would like to get a decision as soon as we can, so I can get on the list to do the work.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
The streets in Concord Crossing,
Yes, sir.
they're what, 22, 23 years old?
And as you can see, I had an awful lot of those slated.
Well, yeah, but how old are those streets in there, Jack?
Oh, I'd say about 28 years old.
28?
25, 28.
Have we ever done any upgrades to those streets in there very much?
I think just a couple of them had some seal coat put on them, but actually they held up better than the roads over in Leafydale. They did. They were better constructed.
But they are getting to the critical point. If we don't get them sealed, another winter on those roads over there, we're gonna lose them.
And what's going to happen, which is our fear, is our problem, once they go past the ceiling rate, this gentleman, and he did eliminate some roads, as you recall last year, he said they're beyond help. Unfortunately, Commerce Boulevard was one of them, because I really wanted to get that one done. But they'll come through and grade them again and say, you know, I am going to agree with you. I'm afraid a lot of them, they'll say, are beyond sealing. Now, do understand, this isn't like a new road. This extends the life of these roads 5 to 7 years, which is what we're trying to do. We're buying time with this versus doing a mill and fill. So you are correct in your assumption. We may lose part of those roads that we could do this year, may be beyond their capability next year, which then puts us into a mill and fill situation.
Well, since we got two of the people off of finance and Dana here, do we have any money that we can pull out, Ben?
But I understand it's a
Budget
big ask.
stabilization fund.
Pardon?
Budget stabilization. And what concerns me is Jack's call out about the potential hike in what the bids are gonna come in for the projects that we already have, we've already committed to, Edwards and Jersey being the two. And if those come in higher, then we're gonna have to find out where to pull that money from as well. My heart tells me, pull out budget stabilization and let's do what we can over here and make sure that we don't get those roads. But my gut tells me, this is the first of many items that we will have budgeted last year that we're going to need to pay more money for when it actualizes this year. And so my gut tells me, we stick to the financial budget. And that's what we have to do right now, because of what we still have out in front of us.
Dana, how close are we to filling that stabilization back?
$30,000.
Like having kids.
So that's, my gut tells me we stick with the 189 and we do what we can for 189 because we're going to have other projects that we're gonna have the same conversation about. I hate to say it because I'm excited about taking care of those roads over there.
Yeah, and the flip side of that coin, and believe me, I'm not trying to argue one side or the other, but is we may lose some of those roads, we won't be able to seal them, then we're into a
Yep,
more expensive mill and fill later down the road.
yep.
It's a tough call. I was sick when this number came back. I argued the estimate, and he said, "Sir, I can only give you estimate on what the price." And it really comes down to oil. Is what it is. He said when it went from $65 to $100 a barrel, he said, "I can't." He said if it went up $5 a barrel, I'd work with you. But he said I can't. So I understand this dilemma.
I think you said it with Jersey and with Edwards. I think those bids are gonna come in high.
Yeah.
Last year Edwards was what, our portion was 100,000?
100,000, and we were right there. I
This
will
year-
not forget that. We were on course, on budget, and had the money.
It probably will come in at 120 to 150 this year,
Engineers are estimating 130.
130.
The township is banking that with more bidders, there'll be more competition. There's more roads that are needing paved now, I mean, just around the state than ever before, and there seems to be money to do it. But the price of raw materials has moved.
And so is labor. If you want to get anybody that knows what they're doing, the labor's going up too.
So I understand what they were thinking, that more bidders would drive the price down, but nobody saw these raw materials moving like they moved.
Well, I disagree with Ben. The prices, I disagree with him on it, but he's the expert, so I'm going to agree with him.
I'm no expert. This
I
is-
don't mean I disagree with you. I'm disappointed in
Yeah.
your decision, but I understand where you're coming from, and we gotta.
Well,
What
gotta-
happens if we meet it halfway?
50?
I mean, where's your comfort level at with the stabilization fund?
My comfort level is hedging.
5?
My comfort level is hedging on the budget we passed based off of the unknown in front of us, especially when it comes to the construction projects. Is it's such a huge variability in terms of, it's $100 a barrel today, what's it gonna be 4 weeks from now? Depending on what else happens, and
Now,
Well, it's went up.
I can,
What?
these numbers I can lock in, you know, if I get on and I'm on the schedule,
They're gonna lock your numbers in.
he said that, you know,
In other
I
words,
think we had 2 weeks to lock
these
this.
bottom numbers,
The bottom numbers, yeah.
okay. Is there an opportunity if the price of oil drops to go back and add some things?
Oh, you
to
better believe if the time they
From
come
our-
in, I will,
Our upper list here?
I will keep an eye on that and say, okay, you raised these prices because it was 100 a barrel. If some
Now
reason
it's
it drops
40.
to 70, I'm gonna go, hey. And I'll be ready with alternative roads.
Okay.
If
So-
we can, I just need to know where my limit is. If it's the 189, that's where I will work.
can we commit to this 189 with the pared down list? And if we have a 2-week time frame, we'll have finance in 2 weeks.
Right.
Have this on finance's agenda.
Look back at it.
We'll
see.
then have a snapshot in 2 weeks of what the updated numbers look like from finance.
Right. And
And
We might
be able to give maybe more of a definite at that point with anything else. But I absolutely comfortable going forward with the 189 with the pared down list.
Oh, I am too.
And
I'm
then
just thinking,
anything
what can
else, maybe give us another, if we have that 2 weeks, let's take it up to the 11th hour
look again.
and have this in front of finance, and this will be job one for finance.
I'm just thinking down a few years down the road
For sure.
for the bigger,
It's only gonna get more
It's only
expensive,
gonna get more.
yeah.
Yeah.
but Jersey,
Where does that come from?
Jersey and Edward make me
That's where
anxious
we gotta find it.
with the unknowns. Especially since Jersey came through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with using what we have budgeted now.
But do you have a problem with revisiting this?
I don't, no, and I
road?
like that idea. I
So
mean,
lock in the 189
have
with the
a-
additional right now.
we'll have a better snapshot then, right, Dana? In 2 weeks at the next finance of where we're gonna be.
We'll have a very, not a whole lot much better, but.
Right.
I mean, another month will give us better trends for sure to see how we're looking compared to last year, and
I'd say let's do what we gotta do with our budget that we had and let's revisit in 2 weeks and,
I really don't wanna take anything out of budget stabilization unless we absolutely
I
have.
know.
Unless there's still alternative.
Not that we're planning on borrowing anything.
No,
else
but we have
anytime
2 big
soon.
projects coming up that we may need to borrow that on at the water and sewer plant.
Or anything else that happens at the unknowns, I mean, it's there as a leverage
I know.
when it comes to borrowing capability, but again, I'm not feeling like we're gonna borrow anything anytime soon. But at the same time, as a rainy day fund, in case anything happens that we don't have that we don't have budgeted, it's above and beyond, so.
And
Yeah, I like your idea, let's just do
I
that.
think we can revisit it and then come back and, you know,
Alright. Does that work
Perfectly
for you?
okay with this. Yeah,
Alright.
I needed to let you know where the numbers had went. And,
Right.
So then I'll have this on for finance,
Yeah.
in 2 weeks. I just asked if there's any other context or any other information that you can get that might help with firming up the numbers and things like that to help our conversation. It'll be,
yeah, so what I'm going to do then is we'll give, this rep a call and, tell them we're gonna lock in, those streets, and in 2 weeks, there may be additional. I will lock
All right.
these numbers in.
You good with that, Marvin?
And then also make him aware that I am gonna keep an eye on the price of oil. And-
if that's the driving
and
factor.
if, well, it is.
Okay.
Oil is the drive.
Okay,
I am sure, labor is part of it too, but oil was where he was really
oh, cost of materials.
having a problem, cost of materials.
All right. I don't even know what time it is, 6:15. Is there any other important other business that we'd wanna hit on?
I don't have it.
No, sir.
Staff, anything? No? All right. I will move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Marvin?
Yes, aye.
All right. We're adjourned.
Okay.
Just when you think we can do what we need to do.
I'm exhausted.
It went up
Gotta
like
quit
50%.
getting up at 5 o'clock.
What's that?
That went up almost 50%.
Oh, yeah, when I got that number, but if you look at the price of oil, it went
Yeah,
up.
it went from 40 to the 100.
Yeah.
100.
He
110.
quoted
What's up,
100.
Bruce?
How you doing, Bruce? Good to see you.
I can't shake your hands. There you go.
Hi, Sharon.
What'd you do to your hand, Ben?
I had to get stitches in my finger.
I had.
I had to get 5 stitches.
Jack will appreciate reading.
Pretty good.
Hi, Bruce. How are you? Yeah, how you been?
Bruce,
Where's she going?
this is for Ryan.
They're not here. I didn't see the need to bring them back.
Probably gonna be some questions.
Bring
That's
that
fine,
new
I'm ready.
Bruce Jack.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know.
738 West
Hi,
Stockton.
Cheryl, how are you?
They're already working for us.
I'm here.
They're doing a great job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you gonna call from Joy?
They've gotten us
Oh,
back in.
You can have that, I got others, I don't know how I.
Good.
Portman.
Shoot. Yeah.
That's good news.
trying to get these jigs and
I remember.
stuff,
Hello.
find out what they're doing.